Raj. Today we learn how to edit the forms in edit mode in MVC5. For this, here we have take only one text box, that is employee name, and another is employee hobbies. For this, we have required Visual Studio 2015, or also you can use higher version of Visual Studio and SQL Server 2012 or higher version. To achieve this goal, some steps need to follow to achieve the goal. Let us see how our output will be look like. First, here we show the list of employees where you can see all the employees list. So here you can see view employee, that is headline, and you see employee name. There is three record: Raj, Adam, Mene, and in front of there is edit buttons on three records. When you click on any edit buttons, that record will go for editing. So here you will see when I have click on Raj and there is edit button, so I am clicking on edit button. So you can see the edit form where we get the data which have already in database, which added through the add method. So you can see employee details for edit, employee name Raj, and employee hobbies like they've selected already, sports and singing. There is more checkbox like reading and dancing, and there is one update button. Here you can change employee name, Raj, anything, and also you can check and check the hobbies. Means you can select their hobbies or change their hobbies. And when you click on update buttons, that record will be saved in database through the MVC5 and SQL Server. Now, achieve this goal, we need to follow some steps. So you are here describing the data which go to database, so need some tables. So let us understand what table we need to require. So first one is master table, that is hobbies masters. In hobbies master there may be many records so that employee can select, like see table structure, hobbies master, id entity, identity column incremented by 1, and hobby name 150, and also we have defined primary key cluster index on hobby masters. And you see here already record is there in hobby master. So let us see id and their hobby name like sports, reading, dance, and singing. Then we know that hobby master have a record like four records like sports, reading, dancing, and also you see the table structure of master tables hobby master. Now understand the second table, that is transaction table of employee, that is table name table employees, and you can see the structure of employees table like table employees name of the table, employee id integer identity 1 by 1, and employee name I have taken here in varchar 150 null, and constant pk employee id primary key cluster and employee id sc. Here I have added only two fields, so you can increase from your requirement for understanding. Only we can see here two fields. So in table implies table, if you select stuff from table implies, you can get the records like employee ID and their name. So we have three records here. One employee ID Raj, two Adam, and three Mene. So also need to what employee hobbies have selected during the insertion. So need one table more I have created like transition table of employee hobbies. Table name employees hobbies. And structure you can see here. TBL employees table create each underscore ID that is identity column. You can put any name here that is incremental for employee hobbies and employee ID integer I've taken null and hobbies ID integer null. Hobbies ID can be only from the master tables and here define primary key cluster employee ID SC. So when we select from the table like select stuff from table employee hobbies, so we can get like we talk about employee id 1, so you can see employee id 1, their hobbies id 1 and employee id 1, employee id hobbies id 4. So you can see here employee id 1 which have selected two hobbies like 1 and 4. When we go in masters in above, so one is sports and four is singing. So you can see there employee ID have a hobbies like 1 and 4, singing and sports and singing. Interested in sports and singing. Also you can see employee ID 2, hobbies ID 2 they have selected and employee ID 2, hobby ID selected 3. For employee ID 2, they have selected 2 and 3 hobbies ID. So 2 and 3 reading and dancing. So employee 2, which name is Adam, in interest in their hobbies like 2 and 3. Okay. Now that is step 1 we need to follow. So first see again there is three table hobbies master, TBL implies and TBL implies hobbies. Now go to step 2. In step 2 what need to apply first add edu.net entity framework in the folder model, then you add, then after that you can select the tables and store procedures which you have required. Then after adding we get some below screen like this models and model1.admx will be created, and if you click on model1.tt then all tables will be created their partial class. Like when we click on hobby masters we can see here hobby master and there is getter setter property of hobby master like id hobby name. There is added one is checked for selections. I have added this manually to get the selected checkbox. Public boolean is check get sets. That is second steps we need to add edu.net entity model and selecting the tables. And in third steps we need to add a controllers like we have added a controller VEMP controllers. In ViewMP controllers, there is three index method. One for index, that is display for the employee details, which and also you need to add view for the index method. Then write the code of index method, and index method view you can see here, that is show in collection. So I enable, I have written here, so you can see that is index method view for the showing the employee details. In second, also add the action method for edit and write the code to display the data into edit form. So you can see here action result edit integer id if id not equal to null. Then that is the edit method. You can see one by one. And in edit method we explain later. You see the code first. And also I have read right here view for the edit method. So you can see the view in edit methods. And third 3.3 to write the code to save the data into tables. So we have write the code here to save the record in the tables. And one each anti-forgery token to prevent cross-site request. I have used here anti-forgery token to prevent cross-site request forgery in your MVC application. So you can see here steps what to follow. For understanding this scenario, we will understand with an example. So let us open Visual Studio, go to File, New, Project, then choose ASP.NET Web Applications and put the name of the application like Forms in Edit Modes and click on OK button. So first we here check empty and choose MVC. Also you can choose Web API if you require. So I choose only two here, MVC and Web API, and click on OK button. Now cancel it. If this option will becomes, so you can cancel because no Azure subscriptions I have done. Now our MVC project will be created. So you can now our MVC projects will be created here. Now you can see like some folders which are all empty, like already there route config and web config, and controllers there is no controllers, models script may be there, and there is view in web.config file. So what we see in the descriptions in the document, so follow one by one. First step, what is our first step? Creation of tables and data. So we already know. So already we have created, I have taken one test sample data database. I have created hobby master table, TBL implies table, and TBL implies hobbies. And when you want to see the records, select star from hobbies masters. Second one is trivial implies, and third one is their employee hobbies. So when we select three tables and execute, you can see the records in hobby master, hobbies name, sports reading, dancing, singing, and the table implies there is three records Raj, Yadam and Mene, and table implies hobbies there is four record. For employee 1 there is 1 4 hobbies selected, and for employees 2 2 and 3 hobbies selected. So what need to do? Need to add first one model. Let us see. Go to add new item. Go to data and select Edu.NET entity data model and click on add. So there is EFD designer from database. Click next. Click on new connections. Now put here server name. What is server name? Connect and you can get here. Also you can get from my computers and their property and name of the computer. So put the server names. Click on SQL Server Authentications. Put user ID and password. I have already user ID for SA and password I have put here. And choose the database. Our database is test samples. And you can check whether this is connected or not. Let us click on test connection. So you can see test connection succeeded. We got the message. Click on OK. Now click on OK button. Now choose include the sensitive data in the connection strings. So click on yes. Remember your name of the connection string is test sample entities, which can be required to connect to database and using your view controllers. So open one notepad and save the name of connection string name test sample entities. Click on next button. Here choose your version. Which version of entity framework do you want to use? Entity framework 6x. I have chosen here. Click on next. Now which database object do you want to include in your models? So click here, review tables, and you can see here three tables: hobbies master, employees, table employees hobbies. Select all tables or which table you have required. Also there is one procedures for banding the checkbox in edit mode. So check on store procedures, then review. You will get procedure name as we get selected hobbies. So click on this. How this procedure is created and how it works, we will see later. Now click on finish. Click on OK. Again click on OK. If you got this message. Now click on solution. So you can see in models there is one file model1.edmx will be created and there is one model1.tt files. In model1.tt files you can see the properties data setter of each table. So you can check here like hobbies master ID and hobby name. But we need one more getter setter property for this for checkbox selection. So put here public each checked get set and we have defined here boolean. Now also you can see other tables properties with a partial clause like employee ID and employee name. Again employee hobbies, you can see employee each ID, employee ID and hobbies ID. And also I have added one store procedures to getting the record. It checked same name will be there in hobbies. That is good. So you can see store procedures with partial class. Here is the properties for the SV get selected hobbies result. So you can see the here model1.mx file will be created. One view model required for displaying the data in edit mode. So click right on models and add a class, and name of the class is ViewModel EMP and click on add. So you can see here ViewModel imply class will be created, and what to put in the ViewModel EMP based upon the what edit form. So see the edit form what you have required. See here there is employee name and there is hobbies. Hobbies in the list forms and employee name. Also we need one employee ID. So I put here public integer employee ID for getting the employee ID, which will show in hidden form, and display and MP name gets set, and there is hobbies get set for showing the into the label. And also you can see get a setter of hobby master we can be bind out. So for this we have defined list hobby master and make a object for this hobby master and get set. When you click on F12 you go to definition hobby masters, you can see here, but also we need public integer checked get set for showing the checkbox it is checked or not. Based upon this we can see here we have added employee name, hobbies for displaying name, and list of hobbies masters, and employee name that is also showing label. So proper way for displaying name employee name you have put here employee name display. For display name getting error, so need to add system component models for this. For also I have added hobbies for displaying hobbies. Two things I have done here. First, now I have added the model1.edmx and added the tables and store procedure. And second one is view model, which is created based upon the edit forms. Now go to third steps. Create the controller. Right click on controllers. Add. Right click on controllers. Add controllers. Take with it MVC5 controller empty. Click on it. Put the name of controller is view EMP controller. Click on it. So you can see in controller folders there is view EMP controller will be created. And when you click on view EMP controller, you get the public class ViewEMP controller, inherit the controllers, and there here we get ViewEMP, and action result index method will be created to show the data from the database. So write here code to show the data. First need to call connection sample entities for connections. What is the connection string name, you can see test sample entities. Test here, make object like db equal new sample entities and close and semicolon. Now add the namespace where it is in model. So you click on using fonts in edit mode dot models. So object will be created for test sample entities. Here we have to show the imply. So take where employee equal to db dot tbl implies to list, and this variable return into view. For data which comes from db, we to go to view. Now need to add the view to show data. So right click on index method and click add view. View name is index and click on. Here you can see view name index template. I have to take empty without models. I have no choose model class data context. Only I have take here user layout page. So if layout page is not there, it will create automatically. And now click on edit. So you can see here your index.html will be created for controller, which controllers, for view imply controller for the external index method. So need to write the code to show this page. Basically this is collection. So put here like model, put model in small. Then what I have to do? Enumerable, then forms. So I have to put here model enumerable forms in edit model dot tbl implies. For enumerable, for using collection, show the data in collection mode and one row by row wise. Now here view back that title. You can write the name view employee view employee. So I've created table class table, taken one 2tr like th employee name, and I have put for display the label at the html.display name for a model lambda expression. I have used model.emp name, and in another th we can put here edit, and so data will be collection. So I have taken one for each loop for each where item in models, and for this I have taken one tr and there is 2td. For displaying name I am taken this html.display for strongly type model item equal to item.emp name, and for showing only employee name, and another td I put here action link like html action link edit new id equal to item dot emp id. So only that employee id will be selected and passing through the query. So now run the application and see the result. So this is the index page of view controller of index method. Now click and run the application. So you get the record after running the application, your controller name view index, view emp and index method, and you can see here employee name and edit EMP. That is the headline which are showing here in bold form, and name of employee is Raj, Adam and Mane. When you click on edit method, click on edit, you can shown in the bottom like localhost 50797 VMP edit 1. When you cursor on the position second edit, there is second ID 2 and third we put the 3. When you click on like employee name Raj and link edit, we can see view EMP edit 1 but resource cannot found. So in our next step, write to action method for edit and also add the view for edit method. So you are seeing here view of employee. Now go to view employee controllers, close all and see here that is the view employee. Now I write to edit action, another action method for edit. So see here I have write a one method action result edit method, and there is parameterized method like edit integer and there is id. If id equal to null, return bad request. There is showing http status code dot bad request, so fix it using system.net. Now what is our transaction table tbl implies? So in that case this will be shown in edit form employee name Raj and hobbies this. So we will achieve one by one. First we know employee name. So I have written the code. So let us see understand. There is tbl employee, that is property make object tbl employee, and db.tbl employee that find id. What id? Which is coming from the query string. Then what we will get through the employee id record. So I have defined here where employee id equal to tbl employee dot employee id. Then if tbl employee is equal to null, then we send a request bad request. Now sometimes I put this comment. Now let us say I have defined one view model in the models folders, view model, and there is property like employee id, employee name and hobbies. So go again, make object of view model object new view employee, then object of employee id, assign the value of emp id. This emp id comes from through the forms, and again object dot emp name equal to tbl employee dot emp name. What record I have get from the employee tables. So first need to add the action view for this edit method, add view, and view name edit template empty without models, and check user layout page and click on add button. So you can see here your edit.html file will be created. Also write the code here to display the record in edit form. So I have already written the code. So let us see one by one. What I have put here like models formed in edit mod dot model dot view model emp, which I have created here like view model dot emp, and viewback dot title equal to edit. I put here edit the employee, and headline I put employee detail for edit. Now what you have to write, let us say using HTML dot begin form, put here name of action result index and controller name view emp and form dot method dot post. Also I have written here HTML entry forgery token. What is this? Let us see. Entry forgery token is used to prevent cross-site request forgery in your MVC application. Now I have defined one table. There is one tr. In this tr I have written HTML dot hidden for model equal to model dot employee ID, which employee ID will be hidden form, displaying but not displaying to the users. It will remain in hidden form for employee ID. Another tr, here I have taken two td, one for display name for label like employee name, and another is text box for text box, and it is strongly model banding model equal to model dot amp name. Also you can see here for checkbox list which can be displayed, I have taken two td tr in td and td, one td for name label, name of the label for displaying the hobbies name, display name for, and another is like for checkbox. First you can see html dot checkbox for model dot hobbies master put I dot is checked, and model master hobbies master I hobbies name, and you can see hidden field to hidden for field for id and name. So that is the template for displaying the checkbox. This is used for which purpose? If show the checkbox is selected, if it's true it will be checked, if it will be false that will not selected will show. And this is for hobby name, that is will display the label which for which hobbies will be selected. And in last you can see there is one submit button like input type submit value, I put update, and I put class button default buttons class. Now build this project. uh, you can see there is some, you are getting the error. I have defined here boolean, it should not be integer, so that will be work. In hobby master we have added one extra line for checked and check the checkbox, public boolean is checked. Now go to the view model so you can see our code will not displaying any error. So you can see here the code for edit.cs HTML file for viewing for viewing the view, and there is edit button for showing the data in this view. So first see again, that is view model object view model, making the object of this view model, and here we are defining assigning the value from database to view like employee id, employee name, table employee dot mp name which can be, And here you can see that is hobby master which are binding. So we will understand also how can bind this first and return the view object into view. So first run it and see the result. Show the imply ViewEMP index. Now I have to click on edit link button. So click on this. Now you can see imply name Raj is filled in the text box. Also you can hobbies, sports and singing were selected. First here we see Raj is display in text box. How it will be display here? See here. First getting the ID and find the details of employee table through the find method, and that TVL employee will be binded here. And here we get employee ID, TVL employees ID through the this one from the database. And after this we have made a view object model. So see here that is object of view model and assign the value of database to this object. You can see employee ID and employee name. And also for hobby master we are assigning the data from the database, and after that we pass this object to view. So you can see our employee name Raj in the text box will be shown. And now for second checkbox hobbies, hobby that is label and that is checkbox list, how it will show, let us see now. So for binding the hobbies we can see object or hobbies master. When you will go for hobbies master view model, you see here hobbies master, but I define a list of hobbies master. What is hobbies masters? Click on F12 and you can see that is partial class, and there is property getter setter ID hobby name is checked. Is checked we have defined later for selection for check uncheck. So again go here in view model and then view controller. So I have defined object dot hobbies master equal to bind selected hobbies. Each hobbies I have need to select, need to display in the checkbox list, and passing one parameter for the particular ID employee ID. Now go to the bind selected hobbies function. So see here I have defined one function bind selected hobbies passing parameter employee ID. And what is bind selection? That is the list of hobby masters. Basically we have returned to the list as a object of hobby masters. So come to the second line. Define list hobby masters. There is items. Make object of this a new list of hobby masters. I have made a object for this hobby master. Then after that I have write where result db sp get selected hobbies. What is sp get selected hobbies? That the that is the store procedure and passing the parameter employee id and return the value in the list. So how sp get selected hobbies will be work? Let us see. Open new query, open the procedure. Yes, we get selected hobbies. Select one, this one. So I have create procedure name as we get selected hobbies, passing parameter employee ID as an integer, and making join like this. Select there is two table like hobby masters and TBL implies hobbies. Why do you write this way? Let us see. When you select table, select star from hobby masters and select another table TBL implies hobbies. Execute this to SQL statement. For I selected here imply ID 1. So in this table put condition empid equal to 1 and run again. So you can see here when we selected the write the query for TBL employee hobbies and for employee ID, we only get two hobbies they have selected like 1 and 4 means sports and singing. But I need to show hobbies master means 4 hobbies so that they can select check uncheck again based upon their hobbies. If you directly bind this TBL implies hobbies, only 2 record will be show there. And if we bind through hobbies master, 4 record will be show there. But no way their hobbies will be selected in checkbox list. So here you make right to get the result according to the conditions means 4 hobbies will be display and what implies they have selected their hobbies will be checked and display selected only 2 hobbies. Let us see. First we will make a query then put it into store procedure. Like I have taken like select from hobby master. First let us see make a list of HM for this and I put left join table implies hobbies. So if we put left join means all the record will be show of hobby masters and also a record of their implies hobbies will show. Put here star and see here. So you can see here sports, reading, dancing and singing all the hobbies will be selected will show here but for the employee ID see here employee ID 1 only show here for sports and singing and for reading dancing only 2 and their hobbies 2 and 3 based upon this value hobbies ID you can show for which employee they have selected or not. So I put here like Alice hm.id hobbies id that is Alice of hobbies masters and hobby name hm.hobbies name and put one case here when employee id employee hobbies id is null then I put here 0 if any value means that is chosen then it will be 1 then make a light like checked and when and also make one condition like empid and put here 1 So when you select this one, you can see here for employee ID only they have selected sports and singing, and its checked value is 00. When you put employee ID 2 and execute this query, you will get only hobbies, reading and dance will be selected, and sports and singing will be 00. So according to this, we have made one store procedures. You can see like SP get selected hobbies, employee ID, and I put this query into store procedures, and passing the employee ID we get the actual result. So here we get the result, and in results we get the value. So that value will be assigned the hobby master. So I put here for each loop and where item value in results, and also make object of hobby master hb object equal new hobby master, assign the value of this result to in hobby master c hp object id item value dot id hobby name item value dot hobby name hb object checked item value is checked, so that is in this integer value, so need to convert it into boolean in last item dot add this value adding to the object hp objects, so all the value will be added in object as a object of hobbies masters, and finally we have written item to list, and that function will be called here. You can see hobbies dot hobbies master equal to bind selected hobbies employee id, and that's way this employee id, that function will bind the hobbies master and display the that's records like sports, reading, dance and singing, and you can see here sports and singing only will be selected. Now run the applications again. Now click on edit, so you can see employee name Raj and hobbies level I selected sports and singing. Now you are seen here one now you are seen here I have used one SP gets selected hobbies and use left join. Now let us understand what is left join. Left join returns all the rows from the left table and the matching rows from the right table. Left join returns all rows from the left table and the matching rows from the right table. If no matching rows are found in the right table, null value are used. Or you can also say that SQL left join return all the rows from the left table if there are no matches in the right table. This means that if the on clause matches 0 records in the right table, the join will still return a rows in the result but with null in each column from the right table. Let us understand with one example. Like I have a product table in which product ID and name like product ID 1 mixer, product ID 2 blender and product ID 3 chopper. Now there is sales table where product ID sell to the customer. So product ID 1 sell to customers and product ID 3 also sells to one customer. But here you can see there is no sales for blender product. So if I use left join for this, you get the results like name and customer. Name of product mixer sell to customer is Smith John, and name of product chopper sell to Mary Ho, and you can see there is one record blender, product blender, but not sell to any customer, so only return null values. So that is the left join. Now move to others part. So you can see your design form will be created and there is one submit button. When we click on submit button, the field record like employee name what you have changed and selected hobbies and click on update, that will record will save in database. How hobbies will be saved? First we select all the selected hobbies, then previous record for particular employee which have selected need to first delete, then after that we need to insert in the employee hobbies table. Now let us see, that is update button. So I have now write the code for update. So I already written the code. Now I am going to copy and paste and we will understand how this code will save the data in different tables. Now see here, for updating the data into database, what I have used in edit form in top of this view model EMP. Same I have called in as a object model like view imply model and object of these view models. Now if model state is valid, then we do some process like see here, TBL imply that the also table and partial class make object of this partial class object emp and use db dot tbl imply to find object model dot emp id, means which come through the forms in view object models, and that record will find in the database which and imply the value to the object emp. Now see here, there is all the data from where, from the forms which are shown here. So when we click all the value, go to the object view models, what I have filled and what you have selected. So here I have make a object tbl imply and object emp. Now I want to save the data in employee table. So I make object and find the value of imply from the database. So make here object emp id equal to object model dot emp id. I will replace the value in this model through the object view model which comes through the form. Also you can see object emp name, object view model dot employee name, which current name you will change that value, apply here and assign the value to this object, and after that we write db.entry object emp.state entity state.modified. What we have modified the data for name and id, that data will be modified in the entity, and I have write here code for entity modifier, then I have write one code save changes. That's why that code data will be saved in the tbl imply database. And you see here that there is error coming, so need to add namespace for this. So click on this one and you will need to add system data entity, so this error will be removed now. So you can see how data will save in the table imply table, making the object and assign the changes in the entity framework that will be saved in database. Now second option you show in the hobbies. Then in that case, first we need to remove the employee hobbies related to that employee ID. So what need to do? Let us see. Deleting the record from the employees hobbies table. So first need to find out employee ID for which record I have to delete. I have taken where empid equal to object view model which comes from the forms and dot empid. Basically in empid I have taken in the hidden field so I can able to call the employee ID for which data I have need to update. So now check whether this is record found or not in the TBL employees hobbies table. So I have write like where object emp hobbies equal to db dot tbl implies hobbies dot where and find like x lambda expression equal greater x dot employee id equal to employee id dot first or default id. So if data is available in this table, we assign the value to object emp hobbies. If not found, that will be get null value. So after that we write a code like if object imply hobby is not equal null means data will be available for that imply id 1. So in that case we need to remove the record from the database means table imply hobbies for imply id 1. So I have write code here. First I have check here, then write the code db.tbl implies hobbies dot remove range. Here I have used remove range. Maybe for imply more for imply one or two maybe record more than one. So I have used here remove range. And then find table implies dot hobbies where x equal to x dot empid equal to employee id. If data will be found more than one table, more than one rows for that employee ID, then data will be removed from the that these tables and after that we need to save that record. Then I have right here db.save changes. So you can see here how can data remove from the table. Now data will be deleted. So need to add new selected hobbies. So here you can see adding the implies hobbies. Here you can see where selected hobbies make a variable and object view model which call from the form you can see here and dot hobbies masters where x equal greater x is checked equal to true then to list hobbies masters. Here you can see that selected checkbox list only checked value will be get and assign the value to selected hobbies variables for referencing to hobbies masters. So after getting the value in selected hobbies, then need to save selected values in the database table implies hobbies. So what I have write to code for each where hobbies in selected hobbies and also I need to make object for this like table implies hobbies making object this and new table implies hobbies. Now I am assigning the value of selected hobbies to this object like add object imply hobby dot imply id and object model imply id then hobbies id then get hobbies id and then add this object to this db like db dot tbl employees hobby dot add object employee hobby. So whatever you get the value from this selected object, one by one data will be get and save in the table tbl employees hobbies. So this way we are saving the selected hobbies in the database. Now make the debug point here and run the application, and now you will see how data will save and get the value from the object view model. Now run. First view emp index and click press enter. Now you get view employee details. Now there is one row Raj and edit option. Then click on edit link. So you will get the selected data like employee name Raj, and they have selected hobbies, sports and singing. Now need to change some name like Raj S, and also some changes I've done in hobbies like uncheck singing and check reading. Now I want to click on update. So see what you will get here. When you cursor mouse over on the view object models, and then you can see here employee name Rajesh. What you have changed will get here. Employee ID 1 also you get here, and hobbies masters. When you click on hobbies masters, so you can see there is 4 record, but you see here sports I have sports and their ID 1 is checked true. Then go on second, like second things, hobby name reading id 2 is checked true. Now I will go on third record, so you can see dance hobby name id 3 but is check record false. And when you will go on fourth record, then hobby name singing id 4 and it checked false. So you can see here that while getting 4 record, but only 2 selected, first 2 selected is true and last 2 selected is false. So that's where you are getting the right data. Now that data will need to save in two table like employee table and other is hobbies employee hobbies table. So for employee table, see here, press F10, 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 F10. So when you find this one and when check on this object employee, you will get like employee name Raj, employee ID 1 which are present in the database. Now when we assign the value like employee ID 1 and object model already data is 1. In name you can see name will be changed here, means I have over assigned the value of object model to object emp model. So you will get Rajesh, and I have write written code here like modification, and when you F10 again, that data will be saved in the employee table. Now see here for the hobbies master hobbies table employee hobbies. So getting the employee ID, now find whether that value is available or not. So you can see here mouse over on the object employee hobby variable, and you get like employee id 1 hobby id 1. There means data is present in the table. Only I have defined first or default value, so if multiple record but it return only one record for checking purpose. So that I will make a condition like object emp hobby is not equal to null, then go inside, and when you can see there remove branch, means it will delete all the records if more than one row in the table implies hobbies through the remove range, and db save changes. That record will be saved in database. But here you can see all the record associated to id1, imply id1 will be removed. So need to selected value only. You can see there is two count, but you have four. So only two records, two checkbox have selected, means two hobby which selected. So two times row will be moved and that two records will be saved in the table implies hobbies first and second. And after again clicking F5, you can see here your data will be saved. Name imply name or Rajesh, and again you will click on edit. You can see your hobby selected like sport and reading. So that's way you can implement the editing in MVC5 very easy manner. Now some overview again you can see. If you go from model folder, so there is model1.edmx will be need to add. Then I have created one view model EMP. So according view model EMP will be created based upon the edit form. This one you can see. Now go to view imply controllers. So first you can see test sample entities db new sample db entities. There is one index method. Only in this action result only show imply data, means imply name. And for this I have added one index view. So go to the view. So you can see this is the view form for index method. I numerable I have used for collection because you have show the list of employee. Then you can see this coding. Now go to again view employee controllers. Now I have to return here edit form, and for edit action result show the data in edit mode. So you can see one by one find the employee ID details, and after that we bind the name and hobbies master. For hobbies master we have created one function bind selected hobbies and make object here hobbies masters, list of hobbies masters. And for getting right value, first we define list hobbies master object of items of this, and need I have used here a one sp to get selected hobbies with all the hobbies. So this is the code for the hobbies master binding. Now another curve, and you can see also view for this edit. So go to view here, see from top model view model emp I have used, and code html begin form index entry forgery token I have used here, table td, and text box binding strongly text box binding, and here is code for the checkbox like checked value and hobbies name, and that will in hidden value. So for that we can achieve the data from the forms. And you can see here there is one submit buttons. When we click on submit buttons, so need to require also update action result method. So you can see here view model emp controllers I have also written code http post same index and with parameter this one, but this is the http post method. So check the code if model state valid one by one. Here you can see data save in table imply table, and for hobbies first here we have deleted the record from the imply hobbies tables, and then after that imply hobbies selected save into the tbl implies hobbies tables, and then I have write a code return redirect to actions. Thanks for watching my YouTube videos. If you want to more videos, please subscribe my YouTube channel.